and fake news, if I may. But anytime any of us oppose it, we are called here all kind of labels, and we are hunted with all these labels and cancelled out. So as you said, this results in not being invited to speak, not being out there to put our opinions out. So our voice is silenced. Our voice all of the time is being silenced in their quest for anti-India narrative, anti-Hindu narrative. They have found Indians, because Hindus are a minority here in the US, they found Hindus as a perfect target. It's very easy to target them. It's very easy to label them. And no narratives, no fact checks are coming from India. And in the West, we are such a small minority that it's very easy to silence our voice as extremists or somebody supporting the ruling party. Even though we're not associated with any ruling party or anything happening, we are all living in US for...
You may be small in number, but you're quite sizable in the economic contribution and the intellectual contribution that you're giving to a nation like the United States of America. And if they're operating, even in Canada, there is a sizable Indian diaspora which is there, which has huge amount of heft. But Pattai Krishnamurthy, how is it that they have the amount of money to give $1,500 per article? Even I am tempted to write if they are going to give so much of money. But where are they getting the money from? Because it's supposed to be the Indian Americans who are the wealthiest.
Yeah, there are a couple of answers to that. So as Professor Ramsani pointed out, there is certainly a lot of pressure on Hindus in general. But again, I don't want to paint the picture as too bleak. America, for the most part, it's a fair nation. It's a nation of laws. We don't, in the US, we have a very strong constitutional protection for people. We have First Amendment rights. Hindus have First Amendment rights like everybody else. It's a matter of raising the issue in the right forum in the right way. So for example, at Kona, we had a presentation with lawmakers. We had a Hindus on the Hill Day on September 21st, where over 15 lawmakers sent their representatives or came in person to hear us out. And we are making inroads into the political space. Now, you asked the question, where is the money coming from? The Middle East Forum, Sam Westhrop of the Middle East Forum did a detailed analysis of just 25% of registered Islamic charities in the United States. And he found that they own a staggering $6.5 billion in assets, and they raise on average about $1 billion every year for various charitable causes. So you put $1.2 billion on one side, and you put $1,500 for an article on the other side, and you know how easy it is. What is the answer to this? The answer is we should use the mechanisms that are available to us. We should use the channels that are open to us. We will continue to engage with lawmakers. We'll continue to shed light on these kinds of activities. We'll continue to ignore the schoolyard bully tactics of organizations like the IAMC, but we will continue to work for and raise funds for, and that's what the most important thing is. Sarah Gates pointed this out a couple of weeks ago on your program as well, Anna, that Hindus in the United States have to come together, and not just in the US, throughout the world. They have to come together, they have to organize, they have to fund their own activities, and they have to raise the voice in opposition. The channels are there. We have the platform if we choose to use it. The platforms that are available to the IAMCs and the SAHIs and the HFHRs of the world are also available to Kona and HAF and other such organizations.
Now here is the thing. Now, the information that we have is that these organizations are all Pak-backed or Pakistan ISAF-backed. There's deep state money that's coming in. There are Islamist forces behind who are doing it. But Purnimaji, let me understand. Is this an India versus Pakistan narrative or anti? Or is it a Hindu versus Muslim narrative? The moment it becomes Hindu, Muslim, there could be Indian citizens also involved, and it becomes a religious binary, and it's not a national equation. Or are they correlated? How would you look at this?
It's actually, as you can understand, there is a Ghazwa, there's a fight happening to conquer India. So it's by hook or crooks, they want to conquer India. Islamic supremacy is so vile in terms of gathering Hindus also under the garb of democracy, under the garb of a false pretense of human rights. And they are actually inciting and actually inspiring Hindus to go join in them. And if you talk about Hindus for Human Rights, they are not a Hindu organization. They're using Hindu names, and there are several names which is Hindu. And if you talk about Miss Sunita Vishwanathan, is she Hindu really? Or what about Nikhil? Are they really Hindus? Or what about other organizations like Amnesty, who's working together? And including George Soros' connections. So it's actually not just Hindu against Hindu. It's India. They want to conquer India by hook or crook. Now, how are they able to do it though? They cannot do it without Hindu alignment. So there are a lot of pawns, Hindu pawns are part of them. And which is what I've seen in India. Several Hindus seem to be speakers for dismantling global Hindutva. And there are several Hindus and Sikhs. If you look at IAMC, you have seen a Sikh, a woman, she's comparing her turban as a hijab, and it has become a sort of like a news because she's defending hijab in India where there is no communication.
The world is breaking up against protesting against hijab and standing up with the Iranian women, and then there are these people who are trying to advocate that in an India which is far ahead in terms of thought and equality. These 9 days are celebrating the feminine spirit. Where else, what else do you want as an example? Well, we will take this conversation forward, but thank you for your time. I have also run out of time here on this edition of The Right Stand. Thank you. Stay with us, Brass Tacks with Zakana.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Election Commission has weighed in on the Freebies debate, or the Revdi culture as the Prime Minister called it. It's now floated a proposal that makes sure that all political parties will have to disclose the financials of how they plan to fund the freebies that they intend to give voters. They also want to know the impact that this will have on state finances. Remember, many of these parties which promise are not able to fulfill those promises or bleed the exchequer dry in trying to implement those freebie promises. But most opposition parties have dismissed this, saying that this is interfering in the democratic process, that they have a right to communicate directly with the voters and apprise them of whatever programs they intend to implement and let the voters make an informed choice. The question is, and the bottom line is this is what it boils down to. In a democracy, are political parties allowed to make promises unrealistic as they may seem and unviable financially as they may seem on the face of it? Or should there be checks and balances on what can be promised and what can be delivered? But first, the story of the day.
Amid the raging debate over the freebie culture in the country, the Election Commission of India took the first step in the direction of political parties furnishing authentic and adequate information to the voters on the issue. The poll body has proposed a pro forma for the recognized national and state political parties to furnish details of the financial implications of the promises made in their election manifesto and how they will be financing them. The proposal comes amid Supreme Court's intervention on the freebies debate, asking the Election Commission to come up with guidelines on the issue. While the BJP supported the EC move, Aam Aadmi Party decided to approach the issue with caution.
फ्रीबीज को रोकना बहुत जरूरी है। राज्यों के ऊपर 70 लाख करोड़ का कर्जा पहले ही है। केंद्र और राज्य मिला दें तो लगभग 150 लाख करोड़ का कर्ज है। अगर इसे अभी भी नहीं रोका गया, आने वाले समय में हमारी आर्थिक स्थिति पाकिस्तान और लंका जैसी हो जाएगी।
जनता इसलिए टैक्स देती है कि उनको और उनकी जिंदगी में जो सहूलियतें हैं वो सरकार दे सके, और वो सब देना सरकारों की मूल जिम्मेदारी है।
The Election Commission has also sought views of political parties by 19th of October on the proposed changes. While the EC's plan is a step to bring the topic of financing schemes and prudence into political discourse, the big question remains, will political parties who have been doling out freebies since long agree to it?
On the talking point this evening, Vineet Goenka is spokesperson of the BJP, will be joined by Akshay Marathe, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Salem Dharanidharan is DMK spokesperson. Sanjay Jha, political analyst, will also be joining us. Vijay Sardana, advocate and economist, and Professor Nalin Mehta is group consulting editor with Network 18. Let me start with Vineet Goenka. You know, the contention that's being raised by most opposition parties is an election manifesto, a campaign is direct communication between political parties and the voters. If the voters like something that's being promised, let them vote for it. If they don't, they will not vote for it. So why is the Election Commission, the Supreme Court, and indirectly the central government getting into this debate? After all, the central government has also given 80 crore people free ration over the last couple of years. Wouldn't you qualify that as a freebie?
Dhaka, thank you for inviting me on the show. Ram Ram to you and to everybody on the show. See, there is a small difference between two words, welfare and freebies. But there is a big impact, small difference, but very big impact on the exchequer and the health of the economy of the country. When any welfare scheme is done with an intention to uplift poor, create parity, remove disparity, give equal opportunity, remove the gaps, then it is a welfare scheme where people, population, citizens benefit. But if the intention is purely to false, purely to promise something which is not feasible, with an intent to grab the power, to come in the election fray and get elected, and then let whatever happens to the exchequer, let whatever happens to the state, if that's the intention, then it is freebies. And in this particular case, in various parties, we have seen that they have not applied their mind where the money will come from. They have not thought about the impact on the treasury, the impact on the health of the exchequer of the state. And I think they should reconsider. Small benefits for people which will help them in their life should be certainly done. I'll give you a small example.
Okay.
When somebody needs some help, like for example in COVID, if they are hungry, they are not getting jobs, they are back to their places without jobs and without certainty, then providing them ration is a need. But if the same thing is promised, saying that you elect me, let me come to the power, and I would like to, give away the free ration to you, then it would have become freebies. So I think they have to be thought upon this. I'll give you one more example.
Yeah, one second, Vinayji, I've got 5 other guests I need to go to, so allow me, please, ask for your indulgence. Akshay Marathe, what the Election Commission is saying today is not that, political parties like yourselves cannot make freebie promises. You can make freebie promises. What the Election Commission is saying, that there will be a prescribed format for disclosure by political parties on the promises made necessary to bring standardization. There should be adequate disclosure of the financial impact of these promises, because the electorate needs to know about the financial impact, and also that the financial implication of the promises and the impact on the state's fiscal health. So go ahead and promise whatever you want to promise. Like, for example, your party has been promising free power in Gujarat, you promised it in Punjab. You're free to do that, but also include in your manifesto how much that is going to cost and where this money is going to come from. That's a legitimate and a fair ask from the Election Commission.
Of course, Dhaka, I don't think there is any dispute when it comes to the demand from the Election Commission or the request from the Election Commission that political parties should explain where their welfare measures are going to be financed from. But Dhaka, let's take a step back. This debate has come up now because of the impending Gujarat and Himachal state elections, right? Now, if you're an ordinary Gujarati voter watching this debate right now on CNN News 18, you are probably thinking that the Gujarat government, which BJP has been running for the last 30 years, has not given free electricity, free water, free high quality education, free healthcare. Then how is it that the Gujarat government run by the BJP has racked up a debt of 3 lakh crore rupees? So the question that comes to the ordinary voter's mind is, if these other parties that say that we are against freebies of free power and free water have not been providing all of these services for free, then where is their money going? Where is the taxpayer money going in the state of Gujarat? So this is question number one. Question number two is, why is it that this question has only arisen when Mr. Kejriwal is making these promises in Gujarat and not when the other political parties have been making similar promises? I'll tell you why. Because in Delhi, Mr. Kejriwal has shown that giving free electricity, free water, and all of the other free schemes that the AAP has launched is possible without running a deficit. Delhi is the only state in India, Zaka, which has delivered on all of its promises of welfare without running a single year in a deficit. We are a revenue surplus state. So when you have an IITian politician who knows finance, who understands economics, who understands how free power really encourages people to engage in more economic productivity, when you have a politician like that, he's able to run finances in a very prudent fashion, and that's what Delhi has shown us today, which is why the promises that Mr.
Akshay,
Kejriwal makes
the
are
distinction
actually
that's
working
being
in
made,
Gujarat.
whether it's the Supreme Court or the central government, what the Prime Minister called it as Revdi culture, is that fine, you go ahead and promise free electricity, but you are promising this to those who are also capable of paying for this electricity. Why would somebody who is willing to and capable of paying for something, why should he or she be given that same commodity free of cost? But be that as it may, let me bring in the other guests. Let me bring in Mr. Dharanidharan, Sanjay Jha also into the conversation. Mr. Dharanidharan, the distinction that's being made is when you're providing free food, let's say for example, during COVID time for people, poor people who don't have a means of employment, that cannot be a freebie, that is a welfare measure. Whereas when the DMK government promises free color TVs and other parties there, try to outmatch by promising free wet grinder and free laptops and smartphones, that is a freebie. You are basically giving this to people who are not deserving, and surely this is not a welfare measure that will enable that person to go ahead and either make a livelihood or better the livelihood of that person. How does free color TV, free wet grinder, free laptop and smartphone make anybody's life or the quality of that person's life better?
The main question is, who decides what is a good freebie and what is a bad freebie? Does the Election Commission of India have the intellectual capacity to decide on it? I don't think so. To decide what is a good freebie or a bad freebie, you need to have range of experts, PhDs from an economist to an anthropologist to a sociologist and whatnot. For example, when DMK announced color TV, people said it was a bad freebie. In fact, the term freebie is meaningless and it's a misnomer, but they said it's a bad freebie. I'll give the term and use the term. But research from Brown University professors who have nothing to do with Tamil Nadu or India, anthropologists and sociologists, it was published by the Oxford University Press, say women got empowered. In fact, when the scheme was launched, our former Chief Minister Kalaniar also said this scheme is to empower women. They said after color TVs were announced and after 3-4 years after evaluation, it was found that more women, children in rural areas were in school. They were less perceptive to beatings by the husband, and there were preference for woman child in rural areas increased. That's because they were able to see how people in urban areas lived. And this is not just the research, just did not focus Tamil Nadu, it also focused certain countries in South America and also Kenya. So this is absolutely wrong. And again, I'll tell you, Tamil Nadu has low inflation. Food inflation in Tamil Nadu is 4% compared to an all India inflation about 8%. Gujarat has 12%. That is because of universal periods we have. Remember, in 97, when DMK was in power, Union government wrote about 4 to 5 letters saying Tamil Nadu should shift to targeted intervention. But our leader, Kalaniar, said no, we will have universal periods. This universal periods has been helping Tamil Nadu to have low inflation. For example, vegetable inflation in Tamil Nadu is 2.1% compared to 27% in Gujarat. Again, I'll tell you, if you think freebies are the reason for the state's exchequer getting spoiled, that's not the reason. In 2011, when DMK demitted office, we were a revenue surplus state by 2,500. Our loan in terms of percentage of GDP was about 17%. Best finance management. But the same finances under AADMK, under Edappadi Palaniswamy, the revenue deficit worsened and the revenue deficit became minus 60,000 crores. It is not because he spent on welfare schemes. It's because the revenue which the state should get, right, that reduced. During our time, the states used to get about 12% revenue from the GDP. But during AADMK time, it reduced 9% simply because of mismanagement and lack of ability in administration. And rent seeking, right?
Let me quote from the SBI report, and a lot of people have cited this as the basis for why there is suddenly an attack on this Revdi culture. And Sanjay Jha, let me get you in. The SBI
No, I want
report,
to add
it's
one
called...
thing.
Yeah,
I just want to add
one
one
second.
thing.
Let me get the others also in, please. Thank you. The SBI's India research report, it's called EcoWrap, says that India must free itself of freebies. It goes on to say that we expect a Supreme Court panel to fix a band, say 1% of state GDP or 1% of state-owned tax collections or 1% of state revenue expenditure for welfare schemes. With this, the desired welfare schemes can be implemented, and the remaining, the parties need to explain where they are funding from. I mean, like I said, it is no one's case that PDS should be withdrawn. That everybody in their right mind agrees that yes, PDS is a necessity, it is a welfare scheme. Whether it is, health insurance for poor folks. Again, nobody in their right mind is calling that a freebie. But when you promise free color TVs and free electricity to everyone, to the general population, then there is a problem because it is sending your state finances into a tizzy.
Zaka, I do believe that this debate needs a resolution because, it has to go beyond the rhetoric. But I'll give you 2 points that are very relevant in our conversation. Number one, you're talking about a country that doesn't have a social security apparatus, no networks. There is no real welfare model that we have. And unlike the Western democracies, and you're talking about a country with 350 million people living below the poverty line, which is less than $2 a day, and where 1% of Indians have 65% of wealth. So you got both poverty and inequality. It's a double whammy, number one. Point number two, a perfect example of how politicians don't understand economics is what Prime Minister Modi said in Parliament in 2014 when he mocked Manrega and said this is the Congress's and the UPA's most disastrous, monumental underperformance, signal. And look at what Manrega has done, especially during the pandemic. It is considered, by the way, to be one of the best social security employment schemes in the world, at least the biggest one for sure. Now, the challenge, Zaka, is this, and I think this is where we need to have probably a meaningful conversation here, is who pays for these? Now, I agree with everybody on the panel that political parties, when they make these manifestos, making these preposterous promises, they are indeed fooling the people of the country. And I do hope the Election Commission comes up with an audit so that these political parties are actually shamed in public for actually fooling the public on from whom they get the votes.
No, who pays for it? Who pays for it is very clear. I mean, it's only the taxpayers who pay for it, and that's about what, 6%, 7% of the population of this country. But Nalin Mehta, the problem is.
Zaka, just give me 30 seconds. Just give me 30 seconds.
Okay, quickly, Sanjay. I got Nalin as well as Professor Sardana waiting. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. So, 2 very quick points. In India, we celebrate the rise in GST collections, not recognizing it's a regressive tax. Even the poor are paying the government through buying goods and services. The second point, no political party in this country, including many eminent panelists, will tell you publicly that do we have the courage to increase taxes, especially on the high net worth individuals and even corporate taxes on those who are possibly in areas that demand to be taxed at a higher level. If you don't have higher direct taxes, this country will always have this debate.
Okay.
But if you pay for it,
Nalin Mehta, the issue again comes down to, who can pay and who cannot pay. Clearly, all of the government's finances are being taxed by taxpayer money, which is a very, very small pool of people. Like I said, not more than 6 or 7% of the population. Now, it comes down to, are you going to give a particular thing, a particular item, let's say in this case, free power, to everyone in that particular state? For example, in Delhi, let's talk about Delhi. Why should all 1 crore people of Delhi or 1.5 crore people of Delhi get free power when maybe there's 30 lakh of them, maybe there's 50 lakh of them who can very well afford to pay for that power? That is the distinction between a freebie and a welfare scheme. No one has a problem with great government school education. After all, those who go there are the ones who absolutely need government school education. So no one has a problem with that. But when you say free power to the entire population up to whatever X number of units, that means that whether you're living in scenic farms or whether you're living in a jhuggi jhopadi, both of you get the same treatment from the state. That's the issue.
You've absolutely hit the nub of the problem, Zaka. This issue is fundamentally about what is the definition of a freebie. One loose definition is it's a free hand for suboptimal economic choices. But of course, you pick up an economist and you'll have you pick up two economists and you'll have two arguments on what's a suboptimal choice. I think the core of the matter, Zaka, is, for example, cereals were added in the PDS program recently. Now, at what point is that a high level nutritional need, and at what point does something like that become extra? What about color TV sets? Now, you take a state like Tamil Nadu, with the Dravidian parties in particular, that's been very intrinsic to the model of politics in Tamil Nadu for 35 years now, and they have the highest number of freebies, from starting from grinder mixers to television sets and so on in the Jayalalitha regime earlier. And Tamil Nadu is among the most economically well-off states. So so you have there's a genuine debate to be had here, outside of politics, outside of the AAP versus BJP debate in Gujarat or the Delhi debate. There is a genuine debate to be had here. I think the Election Commission's point about putting out a consultation paper is really important. You look at fiscally, you look at the states. If you look at the recent RBI paper on where we are heading, you have states like Punjab. There are at least 4 or 5 states: Punjab, Kerala, West Bengal, Andhra, Telangana, all of which their GSDP debt to GSDP ratio is going to be above 40-45% by 2026. We have several states where that ratio is already above 30%. I think we've had some improvement by the latest RBI report in the last few months, but fundamentally, you can't keep spending constantly without having a sense of where the revenue is coming from. Yeah. And I think there is a genuine debate to be had here. Fundamentally, if you look at the coronavirus period, a major reason why India could tide over that period was also because of rations and other essentials that were made available to a very large percentage of the population. That was an essential need. Now, how long is that an essential need for and no one? I think that's what needs to be defined. Therefore, a rational debate on this, which the Supreme Court has talked about, with the Election Commission is now talking about, is, I think, definitely needed, and I think we should keep politics out of that.
Professor Vijay Sardana, one of the reasons why states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, their pension liabilities alone are estimated to be in excess of 3 lakh crores. In the case of Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, pension liabilities are 217%, 190% and 207% vis-a-vis the tax revenues that they earn annually. If just servicing pension, whether it is government employees or whether it is others who have retired, if servicing pension alone is putting such a big burden on the state exchequer, how can we proceed with freebies, whether it's free water, free electricity, free color TVs going forward? Because the state has got to a position where it's not able to manage its own expenses, and then it comes to, the center is not giving us enough funds. It used to be 41% before, it's come down now. It used to be 43% before, it's come down now. Then it just gets into this whole political war of words between center and states.
Jaga, good evening to you and all the panel. Let me show you one paper first before I answer. This is a petition which I filed in Supreme Court when the whole debate is going on the freebies. And what I mentioned very clearly, I'm sure your audience can view it. My concern was very simple. There is a need to have a financial statement. Zaka, there is a huge noise there.
Go ahead. I can hear you. We can hear you perfectly fine. Go ahead.
There is a need to have a financial statement with every manifesto, because political parties don't calculate what they are promising and from where they will get the money. And my prayer was to Supreme Court, please direct Election Commission that every election manifesto must have a financial statement. And this was filed on 23rd of August 2022. I'm extremely happy that my request, which I made it to the Honorable Court and the EC, somehow clicked the ring. And I think now they are on the way. To ensure this and to supplement this, I filed a separate PIL that make political manifestos financially accountable. Otherwise, politicians don't know what they are promising, how many beneficiaries will be there, what is the cost per unit, and what is the total cost per state, and what is the source of funding. So I think this is what we have to do it. I'm extremely happy that my request to Honorable Court and the EC is now heard. And today the discussion paper exactly uses the language and the format which I enclosed is there in public domain. So
Okay.
I think when debate was going on what is freebie and what is not, when I was appearing in the court on a daily basis, this confusion was deliberately created by some senior lawyers. Let me be very honest, those who had political leaning and political affiliation. And it was leading to a lot of confusion how to define freebies. Then simplest and the best thing is, please make the whole balance sheet clear to the voters before they go for the vote, that who is going to create how much liability on the state and what is going to be the source of funding, whether we will face the excess or increase in tax implications or reduction in development fund, then voter will have informed choice before they go for voting.
Okay.
So I'm happy that this paper came in public.
No, let me ask Vineet Goenka, again, you know, there are schemes of the central government, Ujjwala, for example, where you give gas cylinders, I think 2 gas cylinders to women women folks of the household, whether it is opening Jan Dhan accounts, whether it is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where some amount of money is given to build a home, or even for that matter, the Kisan Samman Nidhi, which was a big hit before the 2019 elections, where you give 6,000 rupees over a year to farmers. All of this can also be characterized as freebies by the opposition parties. They are saying that, you know, if the central government decides that hamara scheme welfare scheme hai aur baki sabon ka scheme freebies hai, that's not fair.
Thank you for putting these facts in front of the people, and let me answer one by one. First, let me respond to what Mr. Marathe said, that there is no payment due from the Delhi state government. Let me tell you, DISCOM of Delhi, electricity, today itself LG has asked for a detailed inquiry from the state bureaucracy. What happened to why there is a payment due of 21,250 crore rupees from the DISCOM of Delhi. Delhiites, be aware, any day your electricity can go, because Aam Aadmi Party has chosen not to pay 21,250 crore rupees to the power supplying parties. And who is the director appointed by them? Some Mr. Naveen Gupta, who is son of member of parliament of Aam Aadmi Party. And this is the same company where Anil Ambani holds major shares. So they were cursing Anil Ambani till now. They have somebody been planted by themselves, and they have denied, they have blocked. In fact, the blame is they have deliberately blocked direct benefit transfer to the beneficiaries, so that people may not know who are the beneficiaries. The money would go to DISCOM. Can Akshay Marathe comment on that? One. Number two, Delhi Jal Board, how many 1,000 crore rupees loan is pending and they are not paying this for years, and will there be challenges for supply of water? Please let me know. Number three, education, which is must in the city. Let me tell you, 745 schools out of 1027, around 70% of the schools don't have principal. पगार नहीं है प्रिंसिपल का, इसके लिए प्रिंसिपल को अपॉइंट नहीं किया. And let me give you one more figures. Academic year 17-18, 1,55,436 students failed, out of which only 52,000 students were readmitted. 1,02,000 students were thrown out of Delhi school board. If it is not correct, let Akshay Marathe file a case against me. This is because they did not have sufficient fund. Let me give you 2-3 more examples. Whether it is DTC, which is going to dogs.
Zaka, let me respond.
Yeah, let him finish. I'll come to you, Akshay.
It is public. So, yeah, Akshay, Mr. Akshay, these figures are there, and you know why there are cases been going on. So what they had to do is, when they promised, they went on promising things, they wanted money for that promise, as well as they wanted money for their corruption. So they pumped in liquor, and they started getting it. So when you throw freebies without thinking these things, then there is something element of corruption comes in your mind, where you think that why not do one thing, give freebies so that I keep getting votes and I also make money for myself. And then what you do is you tie up with a cartel of liquor barons, and then they say, let people drink, let people drop out of the schools, let there be a desperation. They are not giving ration cards because it's a scheme from central government, but at the same time they are trying to push liquor shops in every ward.
No, that particular excise policy has been cancelled, and I believe
now let me answer your question. Now let me answer your question. Let me now answer your question.
Mr. Goenka, yield, please. Akshay Marathe, respond. Whether it's Delhi Jal Board,
can I answer you in 30 seconds,
Delhi
and then
electricity bills that you owe the power generating and the distribution companies. Where is all that money? You can't say Delhi government is surplus,
when I'm talking to you, is
but not pay these suppliers.
Zaka,
okay,
Zaka,
let him now respond. Yeah, Akshay Marathe.
Point by point. point number one is, Zaka, you mentioned in your debate earlier that only 6% of India is tax-paying citizens and everybody else is getting money out of those 6%
Mr.
taxpayers. That
Marathe,
is
aren't you
absolutely
supposed to pay
false.
21,000 to 50 crores?
Sir, you asked a question. Let him answer. No cross talk, please. Thank you. No cross talk. Thank you, sir. No cross talk. Akshay, yeah.
100% of India pays taxes in the form of indirect taxes, and I was just looking up the numbers while the debate was going on, Zaka. As much tax collection is done through indirect taxation, through GST, etc., as is done through direct taxes. So it's not fair to say that only 6% of people are paying for everybody else. Everybody pays taxes, and everybody gets the benefits out of those taxes. Now, point number two. Everybody on this panel has been saying that free electricity for everybody is a bad freebie. Now, let me explain. It's very important for everyone to understand that in Delhi, only up to 200 units of power is free. If you consume even 1 unit more than that, it does not qualify you for free power and you have to pay the full bill. This is one of the best models of subsidies that Mr. Kejriwal has come up with, which hyper targets those who are in need of free power. And when you give that free power to the poor in Delhi, they have that additional money to spend on other parts of the economy. They can spend it on their child's education. They can spend it on, buying more milk for their children. So it is not as if this money is going into thin air. It is being invested in people so that they are empowered to use their financial resources in a way that actually
please answer also the questions that were asked. I mean, what about the discoms who are owed money? What about the Delhi Jal Board that it's owed money? What about all of that?
I'm coming to it. Now, to answer your question about the discoms, when he says that Anil Ambani is getting the money, who is Anil Ambani? Anil Ambani is the person who runs the Delhi private distribution companies, which Aam Aadmi Party is not involved in Delhi. For 20 years, Mr. Anil Ambani has been running these companies. So when the AAP government gives a subsidy to the power distribution companies to give free power, obviously it will go to the distribution companies. Should we give it to the BJP? Like how it used to happen in the past, that the Sarkari taxpayer money would go straight into the hands of the Bharatiya Janata Party. That's not what we want to do. Now, to answer the question of the Delhi Jal Board. The Delhi Jal Board is directly and fully owned by the Delhi government. The loan that Delhi Jal Board has is from the Delhi government itself. So Delhi government is empowered to say that it's okay, you don't have to pay because it is doing the job of the government. This is not a private company that has been given a loan and we are not recovering it. The BJP is so intellectually and morally bankrupt that it doesn't understand these things of how governments function. When it comes to the DTC, let me explain to you. The number of buses of DTC may have come down, but there is another public transport system in Delhi called the DIMTS. And the number of buses in that has substantially gone up in the last 7 years, which is why you don't feel the difference. The people of Delhi are having full public transportation today because the number of buses has not actually come down.
Okay.
Now to take the question, let me answer the final question of the principal, because this is something the BJP keeps saying in every debate. 700 principals of Delhi government schools have not been appointed because the job of appointing principals is with the Union Public Service Commission, not the Delhi government. We are actually, in a tough spot. We have the money to pay. We have been writing to UPSC. Please appoint principals. We have the money to pay their salaries. We have the money to pay their salaries, but the BJP's UPSC has not been appointing. Today, let me clarify though. This year, they actually did start appointing principals, and within the year, the appointment process will be complete. So the BJP will not have this point to make by the time you are back.
Sanjay Jha, I come back to what the election commission, of course, the Supreme Court has formed a high-level panel, and that panel will go into the merits and demerits of freebies versus welfare. But what the election commission has suggested today in this proposal paper that they have put out, which seems reasonably fair, that if you're going to make a promise, then also tell the people who you are promising, whatever it is that you're promising, that what it's going to cost them. Because ultimately, and I keep coming back to it, I disagree with what Akshay has said, that indirect taxes, yes, everybody pays for indirect taxes, but indirect taxes are a bad form of taxation. Governments should try and widen the ambit of direct tax payees, as it were. But what the panel is saying, what the election commission is saying is, make adequate disclosure of the financial impact for the promises that you have made. The disclosure be confined to the financial implication as well as the state's fiscal health, and also mention the financial resources required and the ways to finance the promise made. Election Commission is not saying that DMK cannot promise free color TVs. All it's saying is, please put in your manifesto, it's going to cost 6,000 crores, 10,000 crores, 50,000 crores, how much ever it's going to cost, and where you're going to raise that money from. That's a fair requirement. That's a fair demand.
Well, Zaka, the rule of economics is that there is no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for somebody else to get a gain. And I can tell you during our conversation today, it's a very enlightening conversation from all sides. I'm glad that Mr. Marathe has kind of agreed with me here when I said earlier on your show that the regressive GST or any indirect tax is a sign of an economy that is not yet mature. In a mature economy, you actually have higher direct tax collections. Point number one. Point number two, why are we so squeamish and uncomfortable in biting the bullet and saying, listen, you also need to tax the rich in this country. You also need to tax a corporate sector that, in my opinion, is accentuating inequalities. Let me give you two examples. Mr. Modi talks of reverie, but he doesn't tell you the NPA write-offs running into lakhs of crores. Number two, the Nirmala Sitharaman announced a corporate tax rate cut. Now, I'm pro-market reforms, Zaka. But when you announce a 1.45 lakh crore annual corporate tax cut, and she actually said this will create jobs and private investment, which haven't happened 4 years later, it tells you that somebody is also getting reverie who is frankly in the most affluent sections of India. Somebody explain that? That number runs into a staggering lakhs of crores. The third point, do we even know how many crony capitalists in India get public assets at discounted prices, which is actually lost revenue, which is actually the reverie argument that Mr. Modi needs to explain to the people of our country.
So Nalin Mehta, you want to respond to that because opposition has been raising this again and again, even though it may be technical write-off, but when you're making that statement on television or in campaign speeches, it comes across as you're giving freebies. Technical write-off of loans to corporate houses can also be considered a freebie. Why is that write-off of a loan any better economic sense than giving free color televisions or free wet grinders? Nalin Mehta.
No, I think that's an important debate to be had, Zaka. As far as corporate write-offs are concerned, I think that's a different part of the economy, and I think that's been going on for across two different regimes. It's been going on from the UPA time to the NDA time because you also can't have the economy collapsing with major business houses going down because some groups are too big to fail. I'm not holding a brief for any one group over the other and so on. But I think when the state spends its own money on welfare schemes as opposed to things which are clearly for political purpose, and eventually everything is political. But fundamentally, you have to make a distinction between what is an essential welfare good for those below the poverty line and what crosses that line. And that definition will of course vary, and there'll always be debate. But I think it's important to have transparency on that.
Mr. Dharanidharan, when you say that we give for every rupee of taxes that we give to the central government, we only get back 15 paise or 20 paise. The fact is that if you are going to do this, regionalization of taxes, then surely in your state, not every part of the state is industrially affluent. There could be parts of the state that are industrially affluent, and there are parts of the state that are not industrially affluent. So if tomorrow those regions start saying that we pay way more, thousands of crores more taxes than states that are than regions that are agrarian in nature, then would that be acceptable? It's the same thing as saying, okay, Maharashtra pays X number of taxes or Tamil Nadu pays X number of taxes. Why should they be indirectly subsidizing the poor people of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar?
Okay, yeah. So, see, we get 35 paise and not 15, 20. So, see, in India, as you go by constitution, India is a federal country, or rather quasi-federal country, and divided into states. And each state is supposed to get its due share. Under this government, that is reducing. And Tamil Nadu is the only state in the whole of India where industrial development is prevalent across the regions of Tamil Nadu. There's also been a wonderful book written by Professor Vijay Bhaskar called as the Dravidian Model. And again, I want to say, Modi's Prime Minister Modi's advertisement cost per year is 5,000 crores. And we spend about 650 crores to give 1,000 rupees to women children going and joining colleges. For television, we spent about 1,000 crores. And again, GR, graduate enrollment ratio of Tamil Nadu is 52%, higher than that of the US, even Germany. And in Gujarat, it's 27%. Indian average is about 30%. And Vision 2030 of the Indian government is to have 50% graduate enrollment ratio. So we are far ahead. We achieved what Indian government wanted to achieve in 2030 and 2015. It's because of all these welfare schemes. In fact, in 1960s, our per capita GDP was same as that of UP or even same as that of the average Indian per capita GDP. Now it is 2.5 times that of Uttar Pradesh, that is because of targeted interventions and social welfare schemes, which you call as freebies. For example, even the RBI governor under this government is a history graduate. What does he understand about economics? Leave alone anthropology. The election commissioner, for example, is a law graduate. In Tamil Nadu, you come. We have Nobel laureates in our panel to advise us on what kind of schemes to be launched. And based on that, we are launching schemes to uplift the state. So
all right, I'll give Vijay Sardana the final word. Will this have to? I mean, Election Commission has put out a proposal.
I would like to
political parties may or may not follow it, and ultimately, if the Election Commission cracks the whip and says this has to be implemented, then the parties will go back to court saying that this is intervening in the democratic process.
See, first of all, we have to understand that this is a disclosure, it is a transparency. This is a matter of transparency that you promise whatever you want. You call it freebie, you call it welfare, we don't care. Whatever you are promising, do a calculation, put an amount in the manifesto as a balance sheet of your promises. What is the total cost to the exchequer? And then you also put up what is going to be the source of the fund. Will you increase the taxes or will you borrow more money from the banks which for the states which are already bankrupt or virtually moving into debt trap, which is the SBI report comes in. So what is going to happen is that there is no way you can say no to it in transparency. So even if they go to Supreme Court, Supreme Court say you have to disclose. There is no problem in that. Why can't you calculate if you are promising? It means you don't know who are the beneficiaries. You have no idea what you are going to do. So are you technically going to mislead the voters? So it is accountability of the political parties to disclose how they have calculated this number. And that is going to create a more informed debate in the society. Voters will debate, media will debate, people will ask the questions and slowly the discipline fall in place.
All right, last 30 seconds, no more than 30 seconds, Vinit Goenka, quickly please.
Yeah.
Quickly,
so
I have to wrap up.
Whereas they're supposed to pay the DTC, they're supposed to pay for this. 13,000 crore rupees is due to MCD. They have not even transferred 457 crore rupees, which is a transfer fee. And let me just compare one scheme of the freebies which has been doled by the Aam Aadmi Party here. Aam Aadmi Party gives free, they give monthly payments to the imams, which may not contribute back to the society, whereas central government pushed, they helped 46,589 Muslim students to go overseas and have post-graduation studies. Now, this is the difference.
I got to wrap up. I'm completely out of time. I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much.
And when you give it to imams, they don't contribute
back. Completely out of time. Sorry about that. But look, I think, yes, I think one of the panelists said that there needs to be an informed debate. It can't be a diktat either from the Supreme Court or from the Election Commission. But ultimately, if you are going to allow future generations to pay for the freebies that you are acquiring right now, the freebies that you're announcing right now, and then that puts a burden on future generations, that is absolutely unacceptable. It's something that Western countries are facing right now, where they are having to support a much larger, older, non-working population because the state's finances are so badly stretched. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, right on the other side, we'll have all the fast news stories of the day in Brass Tack Superfast.
They're just busy. All that they want is power. That's it. They're not bothered about the state. They're not bothered about the development. They don't have any sort of vision for the state. Nothing. So, it is just this emotional card that they want to play always and make it a communal fight. I am very sure that this time the people of Karnataka have realized their tactics. And I want to sound a warning to all the BJP Karyakartas. Be very careful. It's going to be very sensitive going ahead, knowing that the elections are very close by. Please, I know you guys might be all very honest party workers, but a party which is just for power will not hesitate to do anything. Be careful.
Right, Sankara Guha, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. The Congress's leader there going on to say that this is just to bankrupt BJP, but unfortunately that's not how it's playing out on social media, because the Congress too has reacted to the BJP's Tipu Sultan attack in equal measure. A mega BJP versus Congress fight has now erupted in Karnataka, and all of that is pouring on to social media. There is a Twitter war that has broken out between the two parties. Karnataka BJP has now tweeted a video attacking the Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra in Karnataka, tweeting a video of the Congress party in which Tipu Sultan features. BJP asking why is the Congress cheering on fanatical Tipu? It's a Bharat Jodo Yatra is what the BJP says. In response, the Karnataka Congress has also taken to Twitter to respond to hit out at the BJP, in fact, asking them why the BJP was posing as Tipu and why the Jagdish Shettar-led BJP government in the past brought out a book praising Tipu Sultan. So the fight now is over Tipu Sultan, a fight that has dominated politics in Karnataka for years together. And as we are leading up to elections in the state, it's once again come out in the open, and all of that is pouring on to Twitter now. Harish Upadhyay, my colleague, now joins us for more on this. And Harish, Tipu has been a controversial figure as far as Karnataka is concerned. Politics over that we've seen in the past as well. But as we head towards elections in the state, we seem to have a renewed war of words between the two parties.
Yes, and especially with Bharat Jodo Yatra in the crucial region of Old Mysuru region with Rahul Gandhi travelling Mandya, Mysuru, Srirangapatna, these areas. The BJP understands that the Congress would try to garner some support here. It's not one of the major strongholds of the BJP. It's always a fight between the JDS and the Congress in this part of Karnataka, and that's one of the main reasons why you see the BJP launching this attack, intensifying it, and constantly targeting the Congress party, saying that well, you are in this region, what has been done here, we all know you supported Tipu Sultan, and Tipu Sultan committed grave crimes against people in this region. He's hurt their sentiments, converted lakhs of Hindus, and still Siddaramaiah decided to celebrate his Jayanti. So the BJP understanding the importance of Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra passing through this region and getting very specific with its messaging.
Absolutely, and it's Bharat Jodo is now the excuse, so to say, or that's really how this all started. But as we've been discussing, Harish, Tipu Sultan really is a controversial figure, and the BJP and the Congress, even the JDS, in fact, in the past have traded charges over it.
Absolutely, he's a controversial figure. He's someone who's divided sentiments in Karnataka. We've had Siddaramaiah, who started the Tipu Jayanti. The BJP came into power, rolled it back, and then we've seen a lot of debate over it. Remember, recently as well, there was a controversy in Srirangapatna over a temple which was allegedly decimated by Tipu and converted into a masjid. That went on for a very long time. That's still pending. That controversy is still on. It's before the authorities right now. The BJP always pointing out that Tipu might be a ruler who might have contributed a bit to the temples, especially Sringeri temple and other temples in Karnataka, but he's also someone who converted lakhs of Hindus and Christians, especially in the Mysore and Malabar region, both places which are electorally very crucial, and saying that when such is the case, why did Siddaramaiah decide to celebrate his birthday? And to Congress's bad fortunes, remember on the first birth anniversary, or rather the first time that the state government decided to celebrate his anniversary, his Jayanti, we had clashes in Kodagu which resulted in one person dying. So it's been a hot topic. It's been a topic that the Congress often finds it extremely difficult on how to respond to, and it's only Siddaramaiah who's gone all guns blazing defending his decision, and sensing that is why the BJP is launching this attack now.
Absolutely, and we've seen how this war is now playing out on social media, Harish, isn't it? It's the BJP making allegations against the Congress party, specifically in this context about the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the video that they've tweeted where they claim that the Congress is glorifying Tipu Sultan. The response also coming to the fore on Twitter. So while we are seeing Rahul Gandhi, now even Sonia Gandhi there in Karnataka going to join the Bharat Jodo Yatra in about 2 days from now, even as on ground the Congress is trying to gather.
Welcome back. An uneasy calm prevails in Gujarat's Vadodara after two groups clashed with each other.
40 people were arrested after a communal clash broke out at a vegetable market in Savli town in Vadodara. The clash broke out after a group tied their religious flag on an electric pole, which is near a temple. The other community objected to it and then started stone pelting. An FIR has now been filed in the case and accused from both sides have been arrested.
एक पक्ष में 25 आदमी थे, दूसरे पक्ष में 15, सभी को अरेस्ट कर लिया है पुलिस ने.
Cops are patrolling the area regularly and the situation is under control.
And another town from Gujarat, Porbandar, also saw violent clashes after locals opposed an encroachment drive.
A demolition drive undertaken by the Gujarat government in Porbandar turned violent as a crowd gathered around police personnel at the site. As the authorities came in to remove encroachments, the locals came face to face with the police personnel in protest against the demolition drive. As the situation started to get ugly, police fired tear gas shells. This crackdown on illegal constructions is going on in the cities of Dwarka, Porbandar and Gir Somnath and had started yesterday.
In a big push towards women's empowerment, the Indian Air Force today confirmed that the Defence Wing will be inducting female Agniveers from next year. IAF Chief V.R. Chaudhary today announced 10% reservation for women under the Agniveer scheme as part of the Indian Air Force.
Induction of female Agniveers is also planned next year. I feel it is an opportune time for us to transform this service into a modern, future-ready and technologically superior aerospace power by the time we celebrate our centenary 10 years from now. I'm sure all air warriors will put their best foot forward in that direction.
After an encounter between police and kidnappers, a missing child was recovered in the Greater Noida area of Uttar Pradesh. The DCP of Greater Noida, Abhishek Verma, has said that the accused started firing at the police and one miscreant was killed in the counter-firing. An investigation is underway to catch the other accused.
2 अक्टूबर को जो थाना इकोटेक क्षेत्र में एक अपहरण का मुकदमा दर्ज हुआ था, ये बदमाश शिवम पाल बाइक से आते हुए पुलिस पार्टी पर फायरिंग किया है. पुलिस पार्टी पर फायरिंग करने के उपरांत पुलिस ने जवाबी कार्रवाई करी है, जिसमें बदमाश शिवम को 2 गोली लगी थी, जिसमें उपचार हेतु उसको अस्पताल रवाना किया गया था, जहां डॉक्टरों ने उसको उपचार के बाद मृत घोषित किया. पुलिस अभी जो एक दूसरा बदमाश फरार है उसके ऊपर भी काम कर रही है और जल्द उसको भी गिरफ्तार किया जाएगा.
3 kids lost their life in Etawah after a mountain of mud caved in.
In a tragic incident from Uttar Pradesh's Etawah, 3 children died after being buried under a debris of a mound that collapsed when the children were digging soil from it. 3 of the children died on the spot, while 1 child was admitted to the community health center and is in critical condition.
हटाने के उपरांत एक दुखद स्थिति उत्पन्न हुई, जिसमें 3 बच्चों प्रशांत, सोनाक्षी और जानवी, इनकी मृत्यु हो गई और एक बच्ची अनुष्का है जो प्राथमिक उपचार के पश्चात उसे डिस्चार्ज कर दिया गया.
Senior police officials from the area are on the ground and monitoring the situation. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has instructed officials to provide relief to the victims' families as well.
In a big move by the centre today, the Home Minister announced reservation to the Pahadi community. This is in Jammu and Kashmir. They are now being given ST status.
Home Minister Amit Shah is on a 3-day visit to Jammu and Kashmir. His first stop was Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine in Jammu, where the leader offered prayers. Later in the day, while addressing a packed gathering at Rajouri, the Home Minister promised a reservation to Pahari, Gujar and Bakarwal communities.
गुर्जर, बकरवाल और पहाड़ी भाइयों को आरक्षण का लाभ मिलेगा.
The Home Minister also lauded abrogation of Article 370 and gave a stern message to all the political parties who have questioned the move.
आज की ये रैली उन लोगों को जवाब है जो कहते थे धारा 370 जाएगी तो खून की नदियां बह जाएगी.
Shah will be holding a security review meeting tomorrow in Srinagar and will then address a rally in Baramulla.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Himachal Pradesh tomorrow and will inaugurate the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Bilaspur. Remember, the foundation stone for AIIMS Bilaspur was laid by the Prime Minister in October of 2017. After dedicating the hospital to citizens of Himachal tomorrow, Prime Minister will also address a rally at the Lunu ground in Bilaspur and will also participate in the Dussehra celebrations in Kullu. The upcoming movie Adi Purush is garnering controversy after its teaser was released a few days ago. Madhya Pradesh Home Minister Narottam Mishra has slammed the illustration of Hanumanji, saying that his clothing is depicted incorrectly. He's also warned the movie's director of legal action if objectionable scenes are not removed from the teaser. Netizens also seem to have a problem with Saif Ali Khan's portrayal of Ravan because he was seen wearing a beard, asking whether he's Ravan or Khilji. So let's bring you up to speed with what these objections are to Adi Purush and the portrayal of the Ravan character. The depiction of Hanuman, we're given to understand, is not right. That's the objection of some of the people on social media. Hanuman is shown wearing leather clothes, which many people have found distasteful and offensive. Ramayana and history are being misrepresented, is the contention being made by some folks. The outfits and the appearance of Hindu deities has been shown incorrectly. In specific, Ravan's character looks more like Babur or Aurangzeb or Genghis Khan. There is no Tilak or Tripund, and that is something that people have taken offense to. Meanwhile, the CBI conducted searches at over 100 locations against cyber criminals involved in financial crimes. The searches were carried out in association with police forces of various states. The search operations were launched under Operation Chakra to combat cybercrime networks that are based on inputs provided by the Interpol, FBI, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Australian Federal Agency. Now, the CBI and state police have conducted these raids at over 105 locations. In fact, 87 raids out of this has been carried out by the CBI and about a dozen or so, 18 or so, by the state police forces. These raids were to target financial cybercrime rackets that are rampant in many of these states. 1.5 crores in cash and 1.5 kilograms of gold has been seized in Rajsamand district. Digital evidence of dark web operations have also been seized, and the evidence of illegal crypto and cyber fraud has also been busted. 2 call centers were busted in Ahmedabad and in Pune respectively. There were inputs from the Interpol, the FBI, the Canadian and Australian police services as well. In a big boost for Ukraine, Russian forces have retreated from Lyman, which is a strategic city for its operations in the east, but the city is in complete ruin with dead bodies all over town.
Days after liberation, the streets of Lyman in Donetsk resemble a graveyard with the bodies of Russian and Ukrainian soldiers scattered across the town and buildings in ruins. The liberation of the strategically important eastern city was announced by President Zelensky last week after Russia's military announced its retreat. While the liberation has brought solace to the citizens still living in the city with no explosions for several days, many are still without water, electricity or gas and are resorting to cooking on bonfires. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military have begun attempts to clear the streets, collecting the bodies of their comrades.
Russia's new age missile systems, they are lighter and easier to transport as compared to traditional missile systems. In fact, these can target fighter planes which are flying even at low altitudes. They can also track radar dodging aircraft. In fact, Russia claims that about 1/3 of Ukrainian jets have been shot down using these new missile systems. Using these systems also, Ukraine is using a similar technology. In fact, many Russian jets have been destroyed by Ukraine through these manpads. As many as 10 people are feared dead after an avalanche hit Mount Draupadi Ka Danda, the number 2 peak there in Uttarakhand, trapping over 30 mountaineers from the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering in Uttarkashi today. Rapid relief operations by State Disaster Relief Force as well as the NDRF and Indian Air Force are presently underway to rescue those who are trapped. The Border Security Force has seized a Pakistani fishing vessel that was attempting to infiltrate into Indian territory in Kutch in Gujarat. Nothing suspicious has been recovered from the boat just yet. The Uttar Pradesh police have arrested a man for impersonating a police officer and extorting money from locals in Firozabad. According to the police, the man was arrested while he was trying to take money out of a driver of a private vehicle. A fake police ID and an Aadhaar card were also recovered from the accused. A 23-year-old techie from Chennai committed suicide after being scammed by a loan app firm. The techie was threatened and harassed after he could not repay the required amount. The company also threatened to release his morphed pictures. The Tamil Nadu police has warned the public against falling prey to such scams. The stage is set for another political showdown between the two Shiv Sena camps led by Uddhav Thackeray and Eknath Shinde. The two leaders will be holding separate Dussehra rallies tomorrow in what is being seen as a show of strength. Chief Minister Eknath Shinde will be holding the rally at the BKC ground, while Uddhav Thackeray will be holding his rally at Shivaji Park. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky on phone today and raised concerns over the safety of nuclear installations in Eastern Europe. The two leaders spoke nearly 2 weeks after Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Russia would be annexing 4 new regions from Ukraine and also threatened to use nuclear weapons if it came down to Russia's survival. Ukraine's deadly alligator rifle, it is considered to be the world's biggest and most dangerous rifle. It can cover a range of up to 6 kilometers. It strikes within nearly 12 tons of energy, more than 6 feet long. These guns have the ability to penetrate bulletproof armor. They can also destroy light tanks in a few seconds. California is all set to face another dry year after consecutive droughts in the last couple of years. This year, the state received the least amount of rainfall that it witnessed in a century. Scientists have blamed global warming for the drought. Californians lowered their water usage by more than 10% in the month of August, but statewide water savings are still down to just 4%. And that's a wrap of Brass Tacks. A very happy Dussehra to all our viewers. Maria Shakil joining you with News Epicenter.
Everyone, good evening. You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. Spreading normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir and bringing it at par with the rest of India has been one of the central projects of the Modi government. 3 years ago, it initiated that mission by abrogating the contentious Article 370, allowing central laws to take root in the Union Territory, expanding the crackdown on terror and boosting the development drive. The man who made the government's case in Parliament, Home Minister Amit Shah, continues to lead that mission in the Union Territory. While addressing a rally in Rajouri, the Home Minister promised reservation to the Pahari community in education and jobs as a scheduled tribe. This was a pre-election promise aimed at widening the BJP's support base. If implemented, this quota will be the first instance of a linguistic group earning reservation in India. The Home Minister has said that the abrogation of Article 370 has opened new roads of development as terror incidents have decreased while students have taken up books instead of stones. Shah also said the centre has cleared over 56,000 crore worth of investments in the last 3 years. This saffron blitz in Jammu and Kashmir has addressed a long-standing demand of a community that comprises of over 20% of the population of the Union Territory. It also comes as sources say state elections could be announced next year. While the Gupkar alliance calls the move divisive and a vote bank ploy, the question emerges, is this vikas or appeasement?
के लिए 370 हटाकर रास्ता खुला कर दिया। 370 हटने के बाद शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब का आरक्षण का रास्ता खुला। और मित्रों, मैं आप लोगों को कहूं, जस्टिस शर्मा का कमीशन बनाया है। जस्टिस शर्मा ने अपनी सिफारिशें भेज दी है। 3 परिवारों के शासन में जम्मू कश्मीर को देश के बाकी के राज्यों से हजारों किलोमीटर पीछे विकास के मामले में छोड़ दिया। और ये जो हजारों किलोमीटर पीछे छूटा हुआ जम्मू कश्मीर का, इसको 2014 के बाद नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने आज लगभग सबसे बराबर लाने का काम किया है। ये मैं मानता हूं जम्मू कश्मीर के लिए बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि।
So let me get you an overview of the significance of this move to empower the crucial Pahari community of Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, they have always nursed a wound against Kashmiri regional parties because they were not granted the ST status, unlike that status that have been granted to the Gujars and Bakirwals, which was done decades ago. It's a social and linguistic minority group that lives in the mountainous area. They are primarily found in the hilly areas of the Poonch, Rajouri area, which is Mirpur, and in some other parts of the valley, which includes Baramulla, Kupwara and Uri. As of 2018, about 1 million Paharis lived in the region. They usually, as I said, live in rural areas, and